Alright, thanks for joining us again, folks. Today we're going to be looking at how to install engine mounts. All the different kinds of engine mounts we've got here at Code 504 that you can put with your kit. We're going to start with the basics, though, go over what you would get in these engine mounts and a few other small details in that aspect. So the biggest one that we sell is our small block Chevy engine mounts. So you got your V8, that's a common engine that is installed into these old pickups on an S10 frame. So our biggest seller, I guess I should say, that can come with the kit must be specified. You got to make sure you specify what you want when you're ordering. It's going to be our Grand Slam engine mount setup. So that's going to come with, you've got your two setback plates. This is going to be your driver's side and your passenger side, and then you've got the two top mounts that bolt onto your block. So you see it's got the three triangular type style engine block set up, and then the sides are actually slotted. As well with that, you're going to get these engine cushions. They're basically similar to a stock replacement on an S10 frame. Grand Slam engine mounts here. So specifically with the Grand Slam small block Chevy setup, you have to run an electric fuel pump. And the reason you cannot run a mechanical fuel pump is with these setback plates and these engine mounts and these top mounts for the engine, it's going to be pushing your engine back towards the firewall. So you're sitting about an inch to an inch and a half off the firewall. And because we're doing that, you can't run the mechanical fuel pump because the mount will actually run into your fuel pump, and again, the fuel pump will also run into the frame. So we do away with the mechanical fuel pump on this setup. Strictly electric fuel pump would run into Grand Slams. Now, if you want to run a mechanical fuel pump, we do have a setup for that. So that's going to be basically the same. They're almost the same looking mounts. The face of it has the same oval slots. They're just a little narrower, and on the sides it's just a single bolt hole for that 3/8 5-inch bolt that we use on each side to mount those. So for the mechanical fuel pump mount, it's going to be these two top plates, and then again your engine cushions. Now since we're not using the setback plates on this one, you're going to be sitting more to 4 inches off the firewall there, so you're going to be sitting more forward in your engine compartment, kind of causing some possible clearance issues up front. We've had guys need to move the radiator actually to the front inner portion of the radiator core support, so they'd had to do some trimming on the top to get that to work. It can be done, but it's a little bit more work than having to, or than just using our Grand Slam engine mount setup. The LS engine mounts. So the LS engine mounts again are going to have our two setback plates, driver and passenger side, engine cushion for each side, and then we've got our passenger mounts. They're two pieces per side, so they look similar to this. Basically what those do, slide them over your engine cushion, bolt them together, and you're good to go. Same with the driver's side, two piece again. Slide it over and you're good to go. And you want to make sure, what I call the long portion of these mounts, you want to make sure those are pointed back towards the firewall. Always want to make sure they're pointed towards the firewall there. So now that we've gone over a few of those options, let's see them in action on a frame. We're going to go ahead and get started on showing you guys how to install these engine mounts. We're going to start with the small block Chevy mechanical fuel pump mounts first. So with these, with this setup, we're going to take our engine cushions that we talked about earlier, and they're actually just going to bolt to this triangular pattern right onto your frame. Now this is an 82 to 93 frame, the square body style, so it should have these three bolt holes right here for you. You're going to want to take your bolts, slip them in there. Just going to get it held in there for now, just as such. And then a lot of the times, most of the time, these aren't going to have threads built into the frame. You're going to have to put a nut on the back side. So the easiest way to do that is to actually install these engine mounts when you have your suspension off. That way you can get up in, that way you can get to your bolts, and on top of that, we have cut an access hole on the front here. That way you can get a wrench in there as well. That's going to help you out a lot. Now the driver's side already has one built in. That used to be for the old fuel lines that came from that S10 gas tank, so we just kind of mirrored it on the passenger side as well. Getting into the top plates here, you got your 3/8 by 5-inch bolt. You want to go ahead and set this over top. Now it might be a little snug. You might actually have to trim a little bit of the rubber on the engine cushion. Finally finished getting our small block Chevy engine mounts bolted up here for mechanical pump. Like I said, we like to keep what I call the longer tab here pointed backwards. That's going to get it just a little bit farther back towards the firewall. We did have to pause, trim our rubber a little bit. That's going to be up to you guys how much you need trimmed. And based on that, then you'd be able to get your engine mount put on there. So, alright, now that we've showed you the mechanical pump mounts for small block Chevy, we're going to show you how to install the Grand Slam small block mounts strictly for electric fuel pump. So, like I showed you guys earlier, we're going to first start with the setback plates. We'll start with the passenger side here, so mounting it onto the frame. You want to line up the first 3 holes with the frame. That way the other ones are sitting a little farther back. Now one of these is going to use a bolt through both the plate, the frame, and the engine cushion. So I'm going to stick a couple bolts through these first couple holes. Get everything sitting right. Now the hardware you're going to want to use is 3/8 by 1.5 inches. Go ahead, bolt on our engine cushion next. 3/8 by 1.5 inches again, like such. Now the top one you might want to use a 3/8 by 1 inch bolt because it gets pretty close to the frame there. But we're just going to stick 3/8 by 1.5 inches just to hold it in place for now. So that's going to be the setback plate on this side. Again, this is the passenger side. Then we're going to take our top plate that bolts to the block. Again, it's got the longer slots on the top and the slots on the side. That's just going to sit over the engine cushion. Take your 3/8 by 5 inch bolt, slip it through the bracket, through the engine cushion, and out the other side. Then you're going to use, obviously, your washers and your nuts to get everything tightened down. Now, these Grand Slams do have a little bit of play between the engine cushion and the inside of these little dog ears themselves. Some guys aren't comfortable with that, so you can either just tighten it down, or if you choose, you can space that out with more 3/8 washers. Most of the time, we just tighten them down here at the shop. We're going to move to the driver's side now. And again, here's the setback plate. You want to orientate it so that the stud is towards the firewall. So that's the engine cushion is going to utilize the stud. Again, line up the front holes with the A-frame here on the S10 frame. One bolt in the top, hold it in place. One bolt in the bottom to hold it in place. Then you can take your engine cushion, line up that one hole there. Take a 1/2 inch, or excuse me, a 3/8 by 1.5 inch bolt. Put it in the bottom there. And again, you will use a 3/8 by 1 inch bolt for the top. Alright, we've got that in place. You're going to take your top mount that bolts to your block. Again, with this tab pointing towards the firewall of your cab. You're going to slip it over the engine cushion. 3/8 5 inch bolt, and through the other side of the top mount. So put your nuts on and get everything snugged up how it needs to be, and then you can start mocking up your engine. Alright, now we are ready to show you how to install the LS engine mounts. But first, once you get your small block Chevy engine mounts, before doing any engine mock-up, you want to make sure that all of your engine pieces are secure with your star washers, your nuts, your washers, everything. You want to make sure that everything is nice and secure before you think about mocking the engine up. So keep that in mind here. So with the LS engine plates, we're going to use the same setback plates and the same engine cushions as you would for the Grand Slam. So we've already got those mocked up in here. You got your driver's side and your passenger side. What we're going to start with is we're going to do the driver's side for the LS engine. Now, I've taken and put a bolt through our 2 pieces. These engine mounts do come in 2 pieces per side. I've went ahead and stuck a bolt in there so it wouldn't slide around too much on me. So each piece is going to be marked with either a D for driver's side or a P for passenger side. So what we want to do, we want to go ahead and slip this over our engine cushion. Now there is adjustments in these holes that bolt up to the block. And you're going to do this the same exact way as we did with our Grand Slam mounts, taking a 3/8 by 5" bolt, your washer, sliding everything through back to the back side, then your washer and a star washer for your final tightening, and then last but not least your nut. And there you've got your driver's side. Now again, we've got a lot of these holes slotted so that you've got even some more adjustment in these brackets as well. Let's go ahead and mount the passenger side, because there is one thing you're going to have to do a little bit different for the passenger side. Alright, so for the passenger side, you're going to do the same way for the driver's side. Take your 3/8 by 5" bolt, washer, and again, you see it's marked with the P on the big bracket, and then again on the smaller bracket. Make sure what I call the long side is pointed back towards your firewall. Adjust it a little bit so it fits over your engine cushion. Get it set in there nice. Washer, lock washer, 3/8 nut. And get it all tightened down. Alright, so we finished installing the LS engine mounts here. Now keep in mind, these bolts are just for demonstration purposes. These are going to be for the bolts that go into your block. That's what these holes are going to be for. Now for the passenger side, one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to relocate your AC compressor bracket with this specific mount setup. I know most of the time stock location for those is going to be down on this passenger side, but because we have these brackets here, you're going to have to relocate it, I believe, up and to the inside of the engine. So just keep that in mind. Again, make sure you tighten all of your nuts and bolts down before doing any mock-up of your engine. Alright folks, well that's all we have for you today. Again, when you're ordering, you want to make sure you know what engine you're going to be putting in, whether it be an LS or a small block, or any of the other engine options we have. We do have small block Ford, small block Dodge, and an option for 4.3 liter V6. But in the case that you don't know what engine setup you want, make sure you go to our website, understand our return and exchanges policies, and if you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email here at the shop. Have a good one. Keep those builds going.